Welcome to this WFSB Plus special. I'm Kara Sundlin. Kevin and Margaret McGrath have experienced a nightmare that no parent should ever have to endure. Their 17-year-old son, Jimmy McGrath, a star lacrosse player at Fairfield Prep, went to a high school party and never came home. He was stabbed to death. Raul Valle was 16 years old at the time and stabbed him with a knife during a fight. Valle is a free man right now after a trial that ended with not guilty of murder or manslaughter and a mistrial on lesser charges. Kevin and Margaret are here now bravely. I want to thank them so much for being here because I know it's so important for everyone to understand so many facets of this case, but it's got to be difficult. And as a mom myself, I really appreciate your bravery in coming here because I think all of us, our hearts break for you that you lost your son in this way. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
appreciate you having us.
It's been a couple of weeks since the verdict. Is it still very raw for you? How are you feeling?
Still a little disbelief. It's still a little confusing. It's not like we've ever been involved in anything criminal before. So there is that aspect of not knowing where this would go, but then there's this shock value of like, he's free. He's free, man.
He just walked away.
He just walked away from murder.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, what did you think when you heard the not guilty verdict?
Again, I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so, I listened to the whole trial. Again, I've always said, Raul Valle didn't wake up Saturday morning and have the intent he was going to kill Jimmy McGrath. But to have, him walk out a free person and Jimmy never to be with us again, just really, it was something I've never experienced in my entire life. I still, I'm probably still in a little shock over it. But it was something I just did not see coming.
Yeah. You both had said you felt like you were in different courtrooms when
Yes.
Raul Valle was found not guilty and then walked away.
Right.
Right.
So just for our viewers, perhaps you were following this case. It was, I think, like so many parents who are raising teens and trying to negotiate all of this, there was a house party. You guys knew, at least at the first stop, you knew those parents. A lot of these families knew each other. There's kids on some level being kids, but there's drinking involved. It gets out of hand. There's a fight. It goes to a second location. It's just, as you look back on this, and other parents are watching, what are you thinking as we know that so many teens end up at house parties and maybe there's drinking involved?
Sure. I mean, it's one of those things, it's, unfortunately, every single weekend across the United States, across the world, kids have house parties, right? Kids drink underage. But not every party there's a murder or
Right.
there's somebody is stabbed to death. So it's one of those things I look at it that day of, especially through the trial, is how many times from the minute Jack Snyder picked Raul Valle up from his house, how many mistakes did they make? And if they just changed one thing, one decision, made one different decision, Jimmy would still be alive, right? They were in the car. They were drinking and driving. They went to a party. They were the aggressors, and they took Ryan Hines' beard, and they jumped him. They attacked him. They were the aggressors. And then that should have been the end of it, right? But it wasn't. Then it got through social media, and they started back on the texts, and the Raul Valle and his group of friends went to Trumbull High School to regroup, and then they found out Ryan Hines was over at Laurel Glen, and they went there. They didn't have to go there. There's so many times this should have ended, and it should have ended peacefully, and it didn't. It ended up in my son's death. So it's, all of those things, if somebody made just one decision, one right decision. So from a parent perspective I look at it, it's the parent's fault. And when I say it's the three kids in the car that went to Laurel Glen, their parents raised their kids to think that way. That's not something that's not learned. So, we hold them responsible for this. Because, if they taught their kids, let it go, de-escalate a situation. The reason Jimmy wasn't involved is because every weekend night I go out, I'm like, don't get into trouble, right? You have too much to lose. And he wasn't involved because he took my advice. And I look at it from a guilt perspective, from my perspective, is he took my advice, and if he didn't listen to me, he may still be alive.
Wow. I know this has got to be difficult to think about this, but so we have Raul Valle. If people are wondering how come he didn't get found guilty on any of these charges or why a mistrial, there was the issue. He had the knife. He went back. There's some sort of a brawl going on. The defense was arguing self-defense. The jury saying that they just couldn't find intent, and then they deadlocked on the other because we now know, the jury foreman told me in an interview, that there was one person who held out. It was 11-1 guilty on reckless manslaughter. One person saying, why? Why is only one 16-year-old charged? But when you look at this as the mother of Jimmy McGrath, who also wasn't, he was a bystander, what do you think when you hear that from the jury?
Well, what's hardest for me is he just was an innocent bystander. Jimmy wasn't involved in the fight. Jimmy didn't have a weapon. Jimmy didn't know Raul, so there was no bad blood between them as like rivals or anything like that. So I think that's, I've questioned for over 3 years now what happened that night. And now that we have these details, and we know a lot of mistakes were made through the first party, through the kids, through the adults, I still don't understand how the jury, okay, maybe murder and intent. Did he intend to go in there and kill Jimmy? This is all new to us. We're all learning as we go, right? So maybe that was a more difficult charge, but every juror knew Jimmy didn't come home that night. And I think for them just to let Raul walk away was such an injustice. And I think for me and Kevin and Rosie, it's been injustice for over 3 years now. But Raul knows what he did. I mean, he has to live with that. So there is that piece that, you know what you did, kid.
Right. And it's not just Maggie, Rosie, and myself. I mean, the collateral damage that this has caused across our community is just, it's unfathomable. Like, we just don't understand it, because all of Jimmy's friends that are hurting, and and then how do you go to them and say, okay, right now, the person who's responsible for Jimmy's death is a free person.
Right. What does justice look like to you, Maggie, and to you as well, of there likely will be charges filed again on the mistrial charges. So what do you hope for now?
Well, the state has to do what they have to do. It's always been in their hands, and it is their responsibility, and they are filing and going forward on recharging him. Personally, I wouldn't go to court for another trial. That was something no one could prepare you for. It's just way too hard. It was really hard to hear the kids' testimonies.
Yeah.
And the ones that we knew and loved, and their heartbreak and their sadness, and just utter disbelief that this is how the night escalated and this is how it ended up being. It was way too much to hear. So what is justice? I mean, he does have to do jail time. He has to. I mean, that's...
we'd like to see him convicted of the lesser charges, and and be held accountable for what he did. I mean, he did take a life of someone who was not a threat to him, someone who had such a bright future, and it's the what ifs that have, where would Jimmy be going into his junior year? Going into his junior year of college. What would he have accomplished? Would he have played lacrosse? Would he have played football? What would be in the future? I mean, for someone who lived a short period of time, in 17 years, he accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
And he was just a wonderful, wonderful, exciting kid to watch.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maggie, I want to give you a chance because everything I've read about Jimmy and seen was that he was this incredible spirit, compassionate and strong. Yes, an amazing athlete. Yes, a good-looking kid, but kind.
He was kind. I think when you were with Jimmy, it almost felt like you were the only one in his world. And he just had the energy of just pure happiness and of just love, you know. So, and he was bright, and he had a bright future. There wasn't a sport he couldn't. He had college recruiters calling him and emailing him. We have Christmas letters, and it was an exciting time in our lives for Rosie and Jimmy. Like, where is this going to go? And Rosie was going to University of Tampa, and I said, Jim, why don't you consider it? You guys could still be together. And,
and she's there now. And I just want to say, Rosie, she's only 11 months apart from Jimmy. Yeah. And I know this has been so hard, and she couldn't be here exactly today. I do hope to talk to her. But how is Rosie doing? How are you all coping?
She's doing okay. I think, you know, it's been over 3 years since his death, and I'd say in the last maybe 12 to 8 months, we really started to recover. So, like, understanding why Maggie doesn't want to attend another trial, I think it did reopen a lot of wounds that we started to heal from. But, you know, we're just staying positive, right? So, you know, Rosie's 21 years old, you know, she's going through school, you know, she's got her whole life ahead of her. And we just have to be strong for her and each other and support her. Because she's, the one thing about both of our children, they were the total package. They were smart, personable, athletic. They can talk to anybody about anything. And like it's funny because Jimmy and Rosie were both popular kids in high school, and usually the popular kids aren't liked by the parents. Parents loved both of my kids because they weren't the ones that, you know, they just go off into the other room with all the kids and partake in whatever they're doing. They'd sit down, they'd talk, and they'd have in-depth conversations. So they you know, having them, you know, we just raised two wonderful kids, and you know.
Yeah. And as you said, credit to parents, because it's a lot of work. Any of us raising teens knows this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. And one of the reasons that you wanted to come on and share your story is also you are continuing to keep Jimmy's spirit alive with his foundation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that was started months after he passed. And personally, I wasn't 100% on board.
Okay.
Because it's a business. So now I'm in the depths of my grief, and you want to start a business?
Yeah, right.
So I was a little reluctant at first. But as we got started, and as we grew to learn about the foundation and we're still learning as we go, and make the donations, it was very touching that people were so appreciative, and maybe we are making a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's the JimmyMcGrathFoundation.org. And one of your hopes would be, you say one thing that was so clear about everybody being wounded in this case is that we have a mental health problem among our young people.
Yes.
And you want to help change that with this foundation.
Right. And it started right at the prep Shelton lacrosse game. I just saw just the pain in everyone's eyes, and it was something that we had to do. And what we didn't realize is prior to his death, he was actually running a little therapy business, so like not getting paid for it, but he really was helpful to a lot of his friends that were going through different really tough situations in their lives, whether it was a substance abuse problem, mental health, anxiety. He was there, and we found that out after the fact. You know, we found it out, I'd say a lot of it in the line for his wake, where parents would come up and say, you don't understand how impactful Jimmy's been on their child. And that touched us.
Yeah.
So, and then just to keep it, you know, our golf tournament is the biggest fundraiser, and that was Jimmy. That's his spirit. We're out there, we're having a great time. we're celebrating his life, not mourning his past. And the fact that we can give and help another kid and try to, get children into higher education, whether they go to a private school in high school, or just focus on kids that are at risk, that just need help and guidance, help them to be able to work out their problems in a realistic way, not a violent way. So we work with Bridgeport Youth Lacrosse, which is more than lacrosse. There's an after-school program. They deal with the mental health of the children in their program. Wakeman's Boys and Girls Club, Adams House, which is a nonprofit in Shelton that helps young kids grieve the loss of a loved one or a sibling or whomever it may be. So there's a lot of things that we're doing there to just keep his spirit alive. One of the things I always forget to bring up is, he helped people while he was alive, but even after his death through the foundation, but he's an organ donor. So he changed many lives just with the death. We donated his corneas, he saved some lives with some of his organs. So it's just, he just loved people and he loved life.
Our last donation was touching for me, and it was such a great find. Just on Facebook, someone had posted the Fairfield Police Department initiated a mental health awareness. And so if they got an attempted suicide call, the social worker would then follow up with that family and get them all the help that they needed. And it was, a therapist was based on a sliding scale. So if they weren't able to afford anything or just a little bit, or if they were able to fully pay out, that social worker would follow through with the family. And same with if there was an adolescent who's having a family dispute and the family didn't know what to do with him or her and called 911. Then again, the social worker would follow up with that family and make sure they're getting all the resources that are available to them. So we were able to donate $10,000 to that program, which I thought was pretty amazing that it's starting. I don't know any other towns that have that program.
Wow, yeah. So it's, in fact, this is a good time to ask, as we, perhaps we could put that back on the screen, and I'll make sure that we put it in our newscast and on our website. But people, it's a 501c3, and people who want to help could donate to the Jimmy McGrath Foundation.org. And is that healing for you guys? Is that a way to show support too?
I think it is. It gives us a focus. It gives us a positive focus on his legacy and his memory. I mean, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes after the event, the coming down is because we all remember why we're there. I think we'd love to be able to set up this foundation with Jimmy being part of it, alive and contributing, but we remember why we're there. The other part I just wanted to focus on what we do with, or what Fairfield Police is doing. It's not only is it the victims, but they're also using some of those funds to help their officers. Because just imagine like the officers, the first responders that showed up that night, May 14th. I mean, what they've gone through, and the kids. So I mean, it's we want to help. We do it through there. We also donate to Tunnels to Towers, because all of our veterans, first responders, they need resources. And a lot of it, they're focused on mental health as well. So I think the mental health issue is enormous.
Yes.
And we're just trying to chip away at it.
Yeah.
Yes. And how do you guys go on? I imagine the foundation is part of it, but as a mom myself, I think all of us think, gosh, what would you do? How could you go on after something like this? And yet you are, and you're doing positive things. How are you helping yourself heal?
I think it's taken a long time. This isn't taking an Advil and you'll be okay. This has taken a lot of, you got to put the work in, really. I don't think anyone could do it without therapy. We each individually go. And that we did a program, it's called EMDR.
Yes.
And that was helpful. And we still each see our therapist, but the other aspect is just your basic needs. It's just your exercise. It's your food intake. It's really, you have to care that much more for your body to be able to go every day.
Yeah.
You know, I think I just got to a good, stable point just before the trial. And now I just feel like you take one step forward and you're 3 steps back.
Yeah.
The trial was hard.
Yeah.
And we have to be strong for each other. Our
Right.
community's been strong for us, so we want to be strong for them in return. Yeah, you could go down a lot of different paths. You could go down very dark paths. But we have, on May 13th, we had it all, right? We had 2 great kids. We have a great marriage, careers, the golden retriever. And I think we just have to work back to get as close to that day as we can and just to move forward. Because, the alternatives aren't good,
Right.
right? So we have to be strong for each other. And again,
for
Rosie's
Rosie.
21.
And for Rosie.
Yeah.
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 Of course. I mean, I think the 3 of us all helped each other out at one point in time. You know what I mean? And suggesting this worked for me, try it,
And we do it different ways. And we
Yeah.
respect that.
Because healing can be different.
Healing's
for-
very different.
Yeah.
And different timeline. Like, where I kind of just started my healing because I had to be there to, make sure, everything still, from the household perspective, ran. Right.
Right. You were
And-
saying you were going to hope to start your healing
right.
after the trial,
Exactly.
and then this
exactly. So
happened.
it's been postponed a little bit, but, we'll.
But you have to
we'll
do
get
a
there.
little bit each day. And then,
Exactly.
so you're doing that, and then the foundation. I know that civil cases are still going on, so that'll be a long process, and we don't need to talk too much about that. But I do want to let your attorney gave us a statement that said we're pursuing civil claims on behalf of the McGrath family against all those who we found to be in the chain of causation that led to the tragic events on the night in question. We're currently pursuing social hosts, parents, liquor suppliers, and co-conspirators involved. We are somewhat restricted due to the pendency of the criminal action. We are patient, and we intend to hold all those who bear any responsibility for the loss of Jimmy to justice. And that's from Michael Rosnick, your attorney. I mean, as parents are watching, not that you ever wanted to be a lesson to other families, but given that, as you mentioned, these are parties that are still going on every weekend across America, what is your message to other families?
One thing I think is that, we were all kids. And I think when you hear Joan's having a party, it escalates. And then that one person that was invited brings another 3. And that it snowballed. And I think that's the dangers of the house parties, is you may have invited 10, but then you end up with 20, 25. And I think that could have been the case at both these parties on Jimmy's, May 14th, 2022,
Just this mob mentality of things
Right.
getting out of control.
Exactly. Where, and you saw it, years ago when the focus was kids would rent Airbnbs and there'd be like 200 people at the house.
Right.
It just, through social media, social media is great, but there's times where it could hurt. And this, if this happened when I was a kid, it never would have happened because we never would have known about the second party because there's no way to know. But on social media, everything happens so fast.
Let's move here. Let's go
Yeah,
here. Bring your
exactly,
friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Where
It was-
what we would want is it to de-escalate where it didn't. It escalated. And it's a little bit of complacency. Like, Laurel Glen, it just happened to be, typically the kids hung out there. And I don't want to even call Laurel Glen a party. It was just like, it was Saturday
gathering.
night, just hanging out. That's where they went. And typically parents are home. This night, it didn't work out that way. And this is the night, I don't want to, it's complacent, right? Everyone's like, oh, we've gone there every Friday for the last 6 months. Nothing's happened. And nothing happened. And then this is the time that just, it was the perfect storm of negativity, I guess, if you will.
And those parents also being charged with helping give the underage alcohol and maybe thinking, okay, no big deal, we're just allowing a small group, but these things can escalate. And then the second house, no parents home at all. And so what can happen when there's a bunch of kids and no adult supervision?
Exactly. Right. And, and I know in both families, just feel, they're sad. I mean, it's changed their lives as well. So it's, they've accepted responsibility, and we'll move on. I mean, there's no animosity there. It's just, unfortunately, evil came into their homes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't invited. Right. So.
If there was something to say, I know that you've said you're not going to go to the trial if it happens again. Maybe there'll be a trial. Maybe there'll be a plea agreement. Who knows? That'll be up to prosecutors. But if there was something to say to Raul, would you want to say anything to him?
You know what you did. You have to live with that. You made that choice. This wasn't, I don't think he woke up Saturday morning and said he wanted to kill, but he knew he was up against, let's say, 30 kids. Why did you go back? What did you think was going to happen? Here we are. So you know what you did.
I don't have anything to say to him. It's, I saw his testimony. There's no remorse there.
No.
There's no, I didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I look at that, and one of the challenges I have with the verdict is, you look at the credibility of that testimony. I'm going to Florida. I mean, if this roles were reversed, and my son came home and told me I was jumped by 20 kids, and let's talk about the math. The math doesn't work out. There were 20 kids at the party, and half were females. So, but take that to the side, and Jimmy was jumped and beat up so badly. I mean, the police would have been at Laurel Glen's house because I called them to find out what happened. My son wouldn't be on a flight to Florida the next morning. So, so there's no remorse. Then they lied, I wasn't there. So I have nothing to say to him.
Well, and his
no.
pictures of his quote-unquote injuries didn't really add up. He had little kitten scratches on his arm. Didn't really have a whole lot. It was hard to see.
Brian Hines' pictures, and look at Tommy Connery's injuries. I mean, those were injuries.
And I don't know if there's anything you want to say about this, and if I know that there's future litigation going on, so whatever you can say. But my understanding is, you're saying in that community there were other incidents of Raul in fights that wasn't allowed to be in a
That's
court.
what we understand. And unfortunately, in the criminal, you're only seeing Raul Valle in that few hour time frame. Hopefully, and what kind of I was hoping for is the criminal, we get justice in the criminal, and then we'd use the civil to kind of clean up whatever the loose ends. And I think, not giving away our strategy, but I'd like more of the truth to come out, the whole transparency.
So the civil cases moving forward will be important to you for your own healing
I think
process.
so. Because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of stuff on social media right now that's going on that paints Raul as a victim in this.
Okay.
If they have anything that they need to say, please call our attorney Rosnick. If they think the prosecutor needs to, they need to open up one of the probes, go ahead, call our lawyer. We want the truth.
Yeah.
No
you want to
matter
know exactly what happened.
Exactly. No, we have a little window of truth,
Well, I think
but it's not 100% the truth.
a lot of the kids' testimonies were, they said that one would say he was searching in the car for the knife, and then another testimony was that Jack gave him the knife. At the end of the day, Raul had a knife.
Right. He
So
took the knife.
He took the knife
The
to a
prosecution
fist fight.
saying you don't bring a knife to a fist fight.
You don't
the
bring-
defense saying a whole lot of stupid going on.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
It
true.
is true to both of
And
those
we both
statements.
agree with that. We all could agree with that. At the end of the day, Raul had a knife in his hand, and he stabbed 4 kids. That was 9 times. There was 9 stabs, and it wasn't a little slash.
And it wasn't a slap like, hey, I'm waving the knife, get away from me. It was, it was a stab in, so it was intentional. So that's, obviously that's where I'm having trouble accepting, this was not intentional manslaughter.
So we'll see what happens as the time frame, but at least for justice for you, even if you don't go to another trial, you would like to see prosecutors refile these charges.
Oh, yes. And, we've supported the prosecution. I think they did a great job. There's one holdout, right? Depending on who you talk to, murder's very tough charge. Very tough to get that charge to stick, especially when there's no past between Jimmy and Raul. So we kind of got that. The other charges, I think it was a complex case based on the ages. Nobody wants to put a 16-year-old person in jail for 20 years. So I think you had to deal with that. And then it was complicated. And, not everybody remembers the same thing. I think they got the important parts correct. And from our perspective, the important parts, as Maggie has said, he wasn't involved. He wasn't a threat, and he didn't have a weapon. But yet he's the one that's not with us any longer.
Yeah. And I want to give you guys both an opportunity, and we'll make sure that everyone can see the foundation one more time. But is there anything else, given that you're sitting down with us, and again, we appreciate your bravery and your honesty and sharing your journey with us, is there anything else you think is important for everyone out there to know?
I think, we thank everybody for their support. The community has been, whether it's helping us, a text when we need it, or supporting the foundation. I mean, it's been great. I mean, it's taken up a whole world of it on its own. And it's one of those things, people love it. They want to come and contribute and be part of whatever, either the golf tournament or the concert. We want to add on a lacrosse tournament in the summer to honor him. So we have a lot of things. We have a lot of people that support us, and now it's kind of, we just have to start to heal and really be able to focus on what we want to do with the foundation.
Yeah, I think we've been very fortunate with the amount of people who have supported us, helped us, grieved with us. And it wasn't just Shelton, and it wasn't just prep. It was really widespread. I mean, there were lacrosse teams out in Ohio that reached out to us. Strangers continue to email us, can I help? Can I do anything? My heart's with you guys. And it helps. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And the impact has been worldwide. Right? We've had outreach from all over the world that have watched the trial, which was amazing to me. Obviously I thought everybody in our community would watch it, but the outreach that we've received is just amazing.
Wow.
And it's tough to say
parents.
amazing when we're dealing with just such an awful situation, but the support is, that's probably one of the things that have kept us so positive.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both, and
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on, and I want to let everyone who is watching to let you know that if this is something that is moving you and you want to help and you want to help the McGraths keep Jimmy's spirit alive, there is that foundation, and it is the Jimmy McGrath Foundation. It's easy to find, jimmymcgrathfoundation.org, and we hope that you continue to be able to spread this message and help more people, given all that you guys have been through. So we really appreciate you being here.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And we'll have more of these interviews for you. They'll stay on WSB+. We'll also bring you more on Eyewitness News at 4 and 5.